So Wuthering Waves just came out, and I've been playing nonstop. I think at this point I probably have 14, 15 hours of game time. Somewhere around that. I got my first 5-star. Um, and it's been a blast. But I know there's also been some complaints and some issues. So I kind of wanted to talk about my initial thoughts on the game, what I think, who I think should like play it, and just the good and the bad. So to start off, to give you guys a little background knowledge, I have a 5.5-year-old computer. I use an RTX 2080, and I have an Intel i7, what is it, 8700. I don't know, I'm not very good with computers. Anyways, my computer's pretty old at this point. And I stream. I have a VTuber model, which if you're not a VTuber, it uses a lot of CPU instead of streaming. And honestly, I really haven't had any issues with the optimization. I know some people are complaining about it. My guess is they probably haven't updated their drivers yet. GeForce made an update specifically for Wuthering Waves, and a big sign for me that the optimization isn't good is my model's like, see how I'm moving around like this? If the optimization was bad, my model would move like slow motion instead of like bouncy like this. That's usually the first sign that like my computer's being overworked. When I'm streaming, is I could see like the physics on my model slow down and like the tracking like really start to bug out. I have not really had that at all. There's been one, maybe two spots, which it actually isn't the city. I don't know why. It's like it's like one like small random town that completely bugged out my game. To the point it blue screened my computer. Besides that though, honestly, the optimization's been better than most games. Like if I play Valorant while I'm streaming and use the VTuber model, my model like lags out. Same with Genshin. Sometimes even Honkai Star Rail does that. A lot of games. What is this? A lot of games do that when I'm streaming, honestly. And the fact that this game really hasn't done it while streaming is really, really nice, because it's kind of a shame that I have this very nice model, and sometimes it just kind of, the quality goes down because of the game. And then I played it off stream a bit. I just finished playing like 2 hours by myself. And I had no issues at all streaming, like, or not streaming. Like, no, like, frame drops or anything at all. It was really, really smooth. Besides that, the only big issue I've had is my game crashes when I play around with my USB cords. If I, like, so I'm using a controller right now. If I unplug my controller, there's like a 25% chance that if I unplug my controller, my game will just completely freeze and shut down, and I'll have to go into Task Manager, close it out, and restart it. That's the biggest issue I've had so far, besides that one area that just completely shut down my computer and I had to restart it. And I know some people, I haven't got to test this out yet. I know some people are saying that they've been having ping issues. Mine's been really good until, ironically, right now. It's at 152. It's been at 22 the entire time. This is my first time that it's spiked up. And I know people have been complaining about phone. I can't say anything about phone. I will say, though, I did say I think that was going to be an issue in an earlier video, and it seems like that is the case. Phone seems to be having issue running the game right now. As you can see, like, this is like around the area. Yeah, it's this town right here. This town, I don't know what it does. You guys can see my frames. This town, for some reason, destroys my computer. I think it's just, like, there must be a bug or something going on there. Because I come around this area and, like, you can see it's already starting to get smoother. Besides that, the game itself is really, really good, but it kind of, it knows what it is, right? So the game knows what it is, and it plays into its strengths, and the rest is kind of okay. So to go more in depth about that, let's start with we'll start with the good. The combat is really, really good. I really like the combat. It feels very smooth. I played on computer for like 11 hours yesterday, and it felt, I mean, obviously I played on computer. I played on mouse and keyboard, and it felt really, really good. And now I am playing on controller, and I love it way more on controller. I'm still getting used to controls. I've only been doing it for like a few hours off stream, just to kind of get used to it before I made this video. And it feels amazing. I really like how it feels on controller. Which if you're having issues with controller, I just found out it was a Steam setting. I couldn't use it for my controller yesterday. Oh, there's no shiny. I couldn't use my controller yesterday. It kept bugging out. And I thought it was like the game being glitchy. It actually wasn't the game. It was just a Steam setting. Like, I don't know, Steam was just being weird. I fixed it today. I changed one setting on Steam. I haven't had an issue since. But yeah, the combat and the movement is amazing. It's really, really good. I love the flow of the game. I really like using Rover, and I love, 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 love Donjin. If you haven't got to use this character yet, so you can see, this is just like her normal attacks. It's pretty boring, right? But then, her skill, as you can see, actually, I can see, I'll move out of the way. There's no cooldown on it. But instead, it drains your health. Instead of using a cooldown, it'll drain your health. She's always low on HP. And it is so fun. It makes the fights so intense. You get hit once on her, and you're probably gonna die. She makes the game really, really fun. Makes every fight pretty intense. I really, really like her. And the game, like, the combat already feels, like, intense as is. And she just makes it, like, up another level. I really recommend trying her. If you have her. The movement and the, like, exploration, it feels like Genshin Plus, which is a good thing. The world's really pretty. There's a lot to do. But it's, like, the movement's similar to Genshin. Like, it's enough where if you played Genshin, it'll feel familiar to you. But then they've added in all these extra mechanics to make it smoother. And there's, like, it feels like there's an actual, like, skill to moving around. Especially when you're climbing. Like, sometimes I'll get stuck on stuff, and I've started to get quicker of, like, climbing up things and then, like, changing directions. It feels really, really good. I like the movement a lot. The map right now... Here, let me pull up the map. The map right now feels... I don't know. Looking at it, it looks small. Like, I feel like I got up here pretty quickly. But the more I look at it, I guess I haven't explored all this. Like, it felt kind of small. But the more I think about it, I actually don't think it's... I think it's just because you move so quickly. That maybe feels a little bit smaller. But one thing I do like is the variation. I know at the start of Genshin, there wasn't a lot of variation. Like, Liyue and Mondstadt felt pretty similar. This place, like, feels very different depending on where you are. It's like right now, like, okay, this is a good example. So see how that's like green and that's like yellow? That would be like Mondstadt to Liyue. Like, it didn't feel like a massive difference. But then if I do, say, this, which Genshin does a much better job about this now. The places do feel way different. But at the start, it felt very similar. Then if you come here, like, this feels so different. This feels like Dragon Spine from Genshin Impact. But, like, where it's, like, way different than the rest. And then you have, like, harder mechanics. Like, if you stand on those flowers, it drains your health. This place feels way, way different. I really like it. The flowers are super pretty. Don't stand them though, they'll kill you. But yeah, I like the world feels different based on where you are, which is really nice. So I think they really did a good job with exploration. And and they did a really good job with the combat. It feels both of it feels very, very smooth. Playing on controller feels very, very smooth. And I think the ecosystem's really, really cool. I think it's nice in that some of the echoes, like, you actually get to play as for a bit, and it could kind of like change the playstyle, and it's really fun. And then some of them, so like this one, oops, you just set and forget, right? Like, you just put this down, it shoots a laser beam, and it's gone. So I kind of like that if you're not a huge fan of the ecosystem of like becoming the echo, you don't have to, and you could just do like a set and forget ability. Or if like you do like the echoes, you could use an echo that lets you like turn into the character. So the motorcycle guy, if you've done the motorcycle boss, like, you become the motorcycle guy, which is pretty cool. Or like the turtle, you become the dancing turtle. So I like that there's an option for both. Now to get into the things I am not too happy with. So the first thing you might notice... Say something. I switched to dungeon. She'll say something. I am playing in JP. The English voice acting is... okay. I feel really bad saying this, because I know the voice actors, I'm sure, worked very hard on this. The voices are really pretty. It's like, Yang Yang has a really, really pretty voice, right? But it's very one-dimensional. You don't get a lot of emotion from it. She's like always very calm, like very pretty voice. And you really don't hear a lot of emotion. And then sometimes, like, my chat said this yesterday, I've seen this on Twitter as well. Like, sometimes you get like these random NPCs that have way more emotion than like the main characters. And then some of them feel like inconsistent. Like, I like Rover's voice, but Rover sounds way different between certain cutscenes, and she sounds way different in combat. She sounds so much more mature. She sounds like way deeper voice in combat compared to when she's in like a cutscene. And like, obviously, like, your voice is gonna change a bit in combat, but it sounds like a different character completely. So I think that's one of my big complaints is the voice acting. The voices are pretty, but it feels like whoever is like directing the voice actors on what to do, I feel like needs to change things up. A lot of the characters are very monotone. I think one example of a character that actually does a very good job is Scar. Scar has really good personality, really good emotions to him. I really liked meeting Scar. And we're going to talk about him more later. But then you have characters like Yang Yang who have these gorgeous voices, but she never has like emotion to her. And Rover's pretty monotone too. And then on top of that, another reason why I think it's not really the voice actors as much as just how the English VAs, like the English voices, are being handled is it's like, say you're going through a cutscene and you put it on auto. Sometimes it just cuts off. Like, they'll be talking and then the auto will just skip through it and it'll just start going to like the next sentence. I don't know what would have happened if I didn't put it on auto, if like it just cuts off and it's like a bug, or if the auto's just going quicker than the voice actors are talking. But it feels a little disorganized on that part. And then on top of that, like, sometimes you could almost like hear the cut of like, you could hear where they did like one take and then like halfway through the sentence, like spliced in another take. Like, you could obviously hear it. You could hear the change. It's very obvious. So I feel like it's not so much the voice actors. I'm not trying to beat up on the voice actors. I'm sure they've worked very hard and their voices are all very pretty. But it just seems to be a bit disorganized with how they handled it. Because another thing I've noticed is, why can I not move with my controller right now? Weird. Another thing I've noticed is that the what is it? The voices keep like changing pitches, right? So like when you're talking in combat or out of combat and like you're in a cutscene. So I just because of the video I put it down to 60, but I've had this at 100 and I've had voice volume at 100, and there's still some times where I'm like, I wish Yang Yang would speak louder. I could barely hear her. And then there's times where like I'm in combat and you do like one dodge and then you hear Yang Yang just like deep in your ears, just panting and breathing. It's like the voices are very varied, like the volume of them. Sometimes like and it's within the same character. Like sometimes the character will be very quiet and then sometimes it'll be very loud. I keep telling my chat, it's like I keep calling it ASMR. Like the entire time, like you could hear like all the little and the like all the P's and the C's and like the T's. Like you could really hear like a crisp like those like the crisp sounds. But then sometimes it's like too quiet when they're talking, and then sometimes it's like really in your ear, like, okay, this is uncomfortable, I don't like this. So that's my probably second biggest complaint for the game. My biggest complaint for the game is still the story. I know that they redid it, they said. I don't know, it still doesn't feel great. You kind of get thrown right into the story. Kind of like your typical MC doesn't remember anything. They're just kind of here. That's whatever. You know, that's pretty run-of-the-mill. But then it's like they start saying all these big words, right? So they start throwing all these big words at you, and you're like, I have no idea what this means. And then like they're like throwing characters at you, and like they talk about them like they're these great characters and you should know who they are, and it's like, I don't know who they are. And there's like all this, like there's a lot of talking. There is a lot of talking early, and it doesn't feel like world building though. Like they're doing all this talking, but I don't know what they're talking about half the time. It's like, dude, I don't know what these words mean. Like they need to simplify it down. I don't know if that's a localization issue, because like the names are an issue too. Everyone's been complaining that the names are very hard to get used to and remember, for people that speak English. And I'm kind of wondering if it's the same thing, because a lot of these words are just like, what is this? What is going on? But besides that, the story just feels, it's just slow. It's really slow until you meet Scar. Like they showed that they can do it, that they could do a good story. When you meet Scar, it's so good. That was the first time, like, okay, I am interested in the story. I don't want to skip anything. I haven't skipped anything yet. I'll skip like unvoice acted side stories, but main story, I'm not skipping any dialogue. But I don't know, it's just not, it's not well paced. It's like really slow, and then all of a sudden you meet Scar and you're like, okay, this is really good. Like, why wasn't this here for the first like 10 hours I was playing? Yeah, if you're here for story, and I don't think this is really the game for you, I'm gonna be honest. The story's okay at best. It has its good moments, and it's kind of long and boring at worst. If you're more into gameplay, like if what you care about is like exploring the world, combat, all that, this is definitely the game for you. The combat feels so smooth. I love using Rover. Rover's like you know, usually MCs are like pretty plain. They're kind of like usually pretty bad, kind of like plain gameplay style, and I still really like her. I like Rover a lot. I love her design. I like her playstyle. I just really like this character. Overall, I'd give the game a 9 out of 10. The reason being is it knows what it is, right? It wants to be a better Genshin. It wants to like improve on the combat system. It wants to improve on the artifact system. It wants to improve on like the exploration system. and it wants to have like a more varied like scenery and world. And I think it's done a very good job of that. So because of that, I'll give it like an 8.5 or 9 out of 10. Now, if what you care about is story and like getting attached to the characters, I would give it like a 5 out of 10. It's not not that. It's not that type of game. If you're really into like learning about characters, learning about the story, it's so far it's been a crawl. It felt like until Scar, it has felt like a crawl. It's been a bit brutal. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm so excited for this game, and I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. And if I'm being as unbiased as possible, the game, the story feels like it's just not well paced. I don't know. This is the best way to put it. But overall, I would say it's definitely worth it if all you're looking for is just like fun combat and like fun just gameplay. I would definitely recommend it for anyone looking for that. It's a lot of fun. My only other kind of complaint, if you want to call it that, is for the gacha system. A lot of games give a lot of pulls early, right? They give a lot of pulls early, and then they kind of start to pull back on the pulls. They get you used to getting a lot of rewards, doing a lot of pulls. Maybe you get like a 5-star or 2. Like you get that like big dopamine hit. And then once they got you kind of in the groove of things, then they kind of start slowing down on the amount of pulls they give you. This is kind of the opposite. They're doing it to prevent re-rolling, which I guess makes sense. But I still don't think it's the best idea. I don't know. It took me so long to finish my beginner banner. I played for like 12, 13 hours yesterday. And I just barely... And like, I like really had to go out of my way to finish my beginner banner. I ended up getting Echo. I didn't really want... Or... Not, I keep calling her Echo. I ended up getting Encore. I didn't really want her, but it's whatever. It's fine. I really wanted Jeonjin. We'll get her on the selector. That I'm really happy about this. I think this is a great idea. Putting down a selector. Just because it kind of gives everyone like a character that they could log on to and be excited for. I know that was big for me at the start of Honkai Star Rail. Bronya was my most wanted 5-star. And I got her as my first 5-star. And that just kept me coming back. Like, I'm just like, I just want to play with, like, I want to play as Bronya. And I think this is a really good idea to keep people coming back. I think that's really smart of them to put a selector for a 5-star standard banner character that you could get. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts and opinions, I guess. I really like it, but I could see why others might not. It really just depends. If you're into combat, if you're into endgame, this is definitely going to be the game for you. It feels so good. Every time I get in combat, it's like, I get so hyped. But then it's like, when you get to the parts where it's like, ugh, I guess I gotta do the story now. Like, the story's a little painful. And that's the one thing I'm worried about, is that, is it gonna scare away new players? Because you obviously have to, like, level up, go through the story to get to endgame. And it's like, is that gonna scare away the people that just want to enjoy the combat in the game? Good news is, though, there is a skip button. Great. I'm so happy. I don't know why every game doesn't have a skip button. Like, if people don't want to listen to the story, don't make them. Just let them skip it. They're not going to listen to it anyway. It's just going to sit there hitting left click. You're just making it take longer for them. Anyways, YouTube, let me know what you think. Was my rating fair? Again, I gave it like a 9 out of 10. My biggest complaint is the voices for EN. I like JPs. I really like JPs. But my biggest complaints are the voices for EN and the story just being too slow. Combat, amazing. World exploration, amazing. Ecosystem, really cool. World, I like it a lot. Let me know what you think, YouTube. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!